completely dazed that her mind became numb and her reasoning faculties simply failed to function. At 2 o'clock that afternoon, Mildred had been one of the happiest young women in the bustling town of Oceanside, California. The expensive diamond, which flashed from the ring finger of her left hand, betokened her engagement to Robert Joyner, head accountant of the firm of Pillsbury and Maxwell, the big department store which had branches located in half a dozen Southern California cities. Joyner had arrived in Oceanside something over 2 years before. He had started in as a bookkeeper, and his advancement had been rapid. He had a quick, resourceful mind, was instantly adaptable to any new situation, and above all was not afraid of responsibility. He had complete confidence in his own judgment, and soon his employers were sharing that confidence. An entertaining conversationalist and a good hand at keeping the ball rolling at any party, Joyner was a social asset. He was considered by far the most eligible young bachelor in the community. Mildred's engagement to him had had the effect of a bombshell in social circles, and for 3 months she had been veritably walking on air. Then at 2:15, Mildred had been summoned from her secretarial desk to take a personal call. She felt certain it was from Robert, and was mildly annoyed because he knew the management frowned on employees accepting personal calls during business hours. Not only did it detract from their efficiency, but it tied up the lines on the switchboard. However, it was like Robert Joyner to push the rules to one side. His voice held no limit of anything portentous. He sounded as casual and glib as ever. "Hello, babe. How's the demon secretary?"
"Fine, Bob. Only, you know about calls here. Only urgent matters. I'm sorry."
"Pay it no heed," Robert interrupted. "That is just an idea of the big brass to emphasize their own importance. And in a way, this matter is urgent."
"Yes?"
she asked. "As of this moment," Bob said, "our engagement is annulled, canceled, discontinued, terminated, and rescinded. You are to keep the diamond ring and any other presents, and I trust happy memories of a glorious 3 months.
"Bob, what on earth? What are you saying? What's the matter? What?"
"The ponies, babe. Blame it on the ponies," he said. "You never guessed it, but I happen to be a gambler, and this was a nice gamble. I like to take chances even when they don't work out. Let the other man go through the humdrum routine of an ordinary existence with slow, painful, plodding steps up the ladder of success. I like skyrockets, baby. I like to shoot for the high places, and I like to work fast."
"Bob, but your family."
The myth of my wealthy family back east was simply a background to justify what otherwise would doubtless have been considered extravagances on the part of an accountant working on a salary. My system of playing the ponies furnished a lucrative sideline until suddenly something went sour, and I'm damned if I know what it was. I started by borrowing from company funds and paid back when the system began to pay off. Then I got pretty deep into company funds again, and suddenly I realized I was up against an audit. There were a couple of suspicious circumstances, matters of sheer carelessness on my part. So I picked up all the loose cash that was lying around, threw the system out of the window, and shot the works on a hot tip at Santa Anita today. A few moments ago, the goat came in fourth."
"Robert, is this some sort of a joke?"
Mildred demanded.
"Is this one of your psychological tests to get people's reactions? Because if it is, you've upset me for the rest of the afternoon."
"Let's hope it won't be any worse than that," Joyner said jauntily. "I confess that I feel a twinge of conscience about you. You've been a sweet girl, Millie, and a wonderful pal. But realities are realities, and we may as well face them. Even if I am an embezzler with detection inevitable, I have no intention of putting on an act of tearful repentance, facing the contempt of all the dull clods who formerly looked up to me with envious admiration. I have no desire to throw myself on the mercy of the court to ask for probation and promise restitution. Since discovery is inevitable, I have decided to make my embezzlement worthwhile. I have taken everything around here that isn't nailed down. I started for the bank with the stated purpose of depositing funds, and from there I made several carefully thought-out maneuvers which are going to make my trail very difficult to follow. Frankly, Millie, I'm willing to bet 5 to 1 that they can't ever put their hands on me. I'll be expected back at the office momentarily, and by 3 o'clock they will wonder what has happened to me. This is just to tell you that if they should call you during the afternoon, you can tell them very curtly that our engagement has been broken, that you have no knowledge as to my whereabouts and no further interest in my actions. Of course, something like this was inevitable sooner or later. I can't see myself cast in the role of a dutiful husband or a fond parent making sacrifices to put brats through college. Frankly, even the last 3 weeks of our engagement have been a trifle irksome. You have been sweet, and I have had a swell time, but essentially...